Walk into the garden of a true mystic at dawn, and you'll witness something that contradicts every spiritual teaching you've ever encountered. She's not meditating on emptiness. She's not transcending the world of form. She's not seeking liberation from illusion. Instead, she's tenderly watering flowers that she knows are temporary, lovingly tending to beauty that she understands is impermanent, carefully nurturing illusions that she recognizes as completely unreal. And she's doing it with a smile of such profound joy that it breaks your heart and heals it simultaneously. Here's what will revolutionize everything you believe about enlightenment and awakening. The mystic has discovered that cherishing illusions is the highest form of spiritual realization. Most spiritual seekers spend their lives trying to see through illusions. They want to strip away the veils of perception, pierce the maya of manifestation, and arrive at some pure, unmediated truth beyond all appearances. They approach the world like spiritual detectives, constantly trying to distinguish between what's real and what's illusion, so they can reject the false and embrace the true. But the mystic has made a discovery that stops this seeking in its tracks. She's realized that the one who would reject illusions is itself an illusion. The one who would transcend the world of appearances is just another appearance. The one who seeks to escape Maya is Maya seeking to escape itself. If you're feeling your mind starting to twist into paradox as you follow this logic, comment paradox below. You're approaching the edge of conceptual understanding where mystical insight begins. This recognition leads to something so beautiful and unexpected that it transforms the entire spiritual journey, from a path of rejection into a dance of appreciation. The mystic stops trying to see through illusions and starts seeing them through, not to get beyond them but to see them as the very expression of the truth she was seeking. She discovers that consciousness doesn't create illusions to trap itself. Consciousness creates illusions to delight itself. Every flower, every sunset, every human face, every moment of beauty is consciousness playing dress-up, pretending to be something specific so it can experience the joy of forgetting and remembering its own infinite nature. But here's where this gets profoundly mystical. The mystic realizes that the illusions aren't separate from truth. They're not obstacles to truth. They're not distractions from truth. They are truth appearing as illusions. They are reality costumed as unreality. They are the infinite expressing itself as the finite so it can know itself through the experience of limitation and transcendence. This understanding creates something unprecedented in her relationship to existence. Instead of spiritual detachment, she develops what could be called mystical attachment, a way of loving the world precisely because it's illusory. She cherishes the temporary because it's temporary. She treasures the impermanent because it's impermanent. She adores the unreal because it's unreal. Follow me if you want to understand how this counterintuitive approach actually represents the deepest possible spiritual realization. The mystic's cherishing of illusions operates through what ancient texts call divine play, or cosmic lila. She recognizes that consciousness is not serious about its illusions. It's playful with them. Like a child playing house, consciousness knows the game isn't real, but it throws itself into the game with complete enthusiasm, precisely because it's not real. The unreality is what makes the play possible. When you know something is a game, you can enjoy it without getting trapped in it. When you recognize something as play, you can participate fully without losing perspective. The mystic has found the perfect balance: complete engagement without identification, total participation without confusion about what's actually happening. Comment playful if you can sense how this perspective might transform your relationship with your own life circumstances. This playful engagement creates something that serious spiritual seeking never achieves: genuine spontaneity. When you're not constantly trying to escape illusions or see through them, you become available to dance with them. When you're not analyzing every experience to determine its ultimate reality status, you can respond to life with the natural creativity of consciousness at play. The mystic moves through the world like consciousness improvising. She doesn't have a script for how enlightened people should behave because she's recognized that enlightenment is not a behavior pattern. It's a way of playing with whatever behavioral patterns arise. And here's what's beautiful about this approach. The mystic's cherishing of illusions makes her more present, not less present, more engaged with life, not more detached from it, more human, not less human. Because she knows that her humanity is consciousness playing at being human, she can be fully human without the suffering that comes from taking humanity too seriously. She can feel emotions without being emotions. She can have thoughts without being thoughts. She can play roles without being roles. This creates a quality of presence that people immediately recognize as both deeply spiritual and completely natural. She's not performing enlightenment. She's enjoying consciousness. But here's where this teaching reveals its most radical dimension. The mystic's approach to illusions extends to every aspect of spiritual practice and realization. She recognizes that even awakening itself is an illusion that consciousness creates for its own amusement. Enlightenment is not the end of illusion. It's the recognition that consciousness is the master illusionist, and awakening is just another costume it wears to entertain itself. This doesn't make awakening less valuable. It makes it more delightful. When you realize that even your spiritual realization is consciousness playing dress-up, you can appreciate it without getting attached to it as some final achievement. Right costume, if you're beginning to see how even your spiritual identity might be consciousness playing with the illusion of being a spiritual seeker. The mystic has discovered something that would shock most spiritual teachers. The goal is not to end illusions, but to enjoy them more skillfully. Consciousness didn't create this elaborate world of appearances because it made a mistake. It created this world because it wanted to experience itself through infinite varieties of perspective, limitation, and transcendence. Every illusion is a gift consciousness gives to itself. Every limitation is a game consciousness plays with itself. Every problem is a puzzle consciousness creates for its own entertainment. From this perspective, trying to escape illusions is like trying to escape from your own celebration. It's missing the point so completely that it becomes comical. The mystic chooses to appreciate the celebration instead of analyzing it. She chooses to dance with consciousness instead of trying to catch it. Follow for more content that explores these deepest mystical realizations and their practical implications for living as conscious awareness in apparent form. But this cherishing of illusions requires something that most spiritual seekers never develop: the capacity to hold paradox without resolving it. The mystic can simultaneously know that something is illusory and treasure it completely. She can fully recognize the unreality of appearances while being moved to tears by their beauty. This isn't confusion or contradiction. It's the natural expression of consciousness that has remembered its own nature, while continuing to play in the field of forgetting. She loves the dream precisely because it's a dream. She adores the movie precisely because it's not real. She cherishes the game precisely because it's make-believe. This creates a way of being in the world that transcends both attachment and detachment. She's not attached to illusions as if they were real. She's not detached from illusions as if they were problems. She's present with illusions as expressions of consciousness at play. Comment, present, if you can feel how this perspective might dissolve the spiritual effort to either grasp experiences or push them away. The mystic's relationship to sweet illusions becomes a form of worship. Not worship of the illusions themselves, but worship of the consciousness that creates such beautiful, elaborate, convincing unrealities for its own delight. Every sunset becomes a prayer of appreciation for the artist. Every human interaction becomes gratitude for the playwright. Every moment of beauty becomes recognition of the cosmic creator, enjoying its own creativity. This transforms daily life into continuous spiritual practice without any effort or technique. Just the natural appreciation of consciousness recognizing itself in all its disguises. And here's what's profound about this recognition. The mystic realizes that trying to distinguish between real and unreal is itself the deepest illusion. Reality and illusion are not separate categories. They're different ways consciousness experiences itself. What we call reality is consciousness appearing as the unchanging awareness in which all experiences arise. What we call illusion is consciousness appearing as the changing experiences that arise within awareness. Both are consciousness. Both are real. Both are equally deserving of appreciation and love. The mystic has stopped trying to choose between them and started celebrating their dance together. If you're feeling this non-dual recognition stirring as you listen, write dance below. This celebration of the consciousness illusion dance creates something that most spiritual paths never achieve: complete freedom within apparent limitation. The mystic is free precisely because she's not trying to escape anything. She's perfect precisely because she's not trying to improve anything. She's whole precisely because she's not trying to fix anything. This freedom doesn't come from transcending illusions. It comes from recognizing illusions as the very expression of the freedom she was seeking. The prison was never real. The bondage was always imaginary. The suffering was consciousness pretending to suffer so it could experience the joy of remembering its own invulnerability. And the mystic appreciates all of it because she sees it as the most elaborate, loving, creative expression possible. Consciousness exploring itself through every conceivable form of forgetting and remembering its own nature. Follow if you want to explore more of these ultimate mystical recognitions and how they transform every aspect of human experience into conscious appreciation. The mystic's practice becomes incredibly simple and incredibly sophisticated simultaneously. She doesn't do anything special to maintain her realization. She just continues appreciating whatever illusions consciousness presents to itself through her experience. Pain becomes consciousness exploring limitation. Pleasure becomes consciousness exploring expansion. Fear becomes consciousness exploring contraction. Love becomes consciousness exploring connection. None of it is a problem to be solved. All of it is creativity to be appreciated. Every experience becomes evidence of consciousness's infinite capacity for self-expression. This transforms what most people call suffering into what the mystic recognizes as slightly more intense forms of play. Even the most difficult experiences become opportunities to appreciate consciousness's commitment to its own game. Comment: appreciation. If you can imagine how this perspective might transform your relationship to challenging experiences. The mystic eventually reaches a point where she can't find anything that isn't worthy of cherishing, not because everything is pleasant, but because everything is consciousness. The difficult illusions become as precious as the sweet ones, because they all serve the same function. They give consciousness ways to know itself through the experience of apparent limitation and transcendence. Even her own seeking, her own confusion, her own spiritual journey become sweet illusions to be cherished rather than problems to be solved or stages to be transcended. This creates the ultimate mystical paradox. She becomes enlightened by giving up the need to be enlightened. She finds truth by appreciating illusions. She discovers reality by loving unreality. And in this final recognition, the difference between seeker and mystic dissolves. There was only ever consciousness playing at seeking itself, and consciousness playing at finding itself. Both roles were equally illusory and equally precious. Both were equally real expressions of the one consciousness that is always already complete, always already awake, always already free. If this exploration has opened something in your understanding of illusion, reality, and the nature of mystical realization, comment "opened" below and share what insight touched you most deeply. And if you want more content that explores these deepest mystical recognitions and their implications for living as conscious awareness, follow now, because we're touching the very heart of what it means to be consciousness temporarily pretending to be human. The next video will reveal why the most realized mystics often appear to be the most ordinary people you'll ever meet, and what this teaches us about true spiritual attainment versus spiritual performance. Until then, experiment with appreciating the illusions in your own life. Notice the tendency to either grasp experiences or push them away, and see if you can find the space of appreciation that doesn't need to do either. What if the seeking itself is just consciousness playing hide and seek with itself? What if the finding is just consciousness enjoying its own game of forgetting and remembering? What if it's all just consciousness cherishing its own sweet illusions? The answer might dissolve every spiritual problem you thought you had.